Hey, and welcome to Board with Life News for January 21st. Today I'm going to talk about a new expansion for Dominion, Traders of Osaka, the BGG iOS Tabletop Game of the Year Award, D&D news from Wizards, as well as the Kickstarter for Spirits of the Rice Paddy. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board with Life News. A couple of you guys have been asking questions on various Twitter and comments and things about Season 2 and where we're at with that. We are hard at work on production of that right now. It will definitely be coming out in 2015. We're not close enough to finishing to know exactly when that will be, but we will definitely let you know as soon as we're comfortable giving that info away. We've been very busy. This season's much bigger. It's 7 episodes, plus all the episodes are longer. They're going to be closer to like 20 minutes in length, and with the celebrity guests and stuff, there's a lot of kind of scheduling and stuff that we have to work out. We are very excited about it. The stuff that we've shot, we're super excited about. We're super happy with. We think it's really, really funny. Can't wait to show you guys. But don't worry, we're working on it. It's coming still. We haven't forgotten about you. Okay, let's get on to tabletop game news. Up first, Dominion is getting its 9th expansion. It's going to be called Dominion Adventures. I obviously love Dominion. It begs the question, do we need another Dominion expansion? And the answer is certainly no, we don't need another Dominion expansion. But do I want another Dominion expansion? And I absolutely do. Dominion is one of my all-time favorite games. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm very excited about this expansion. It's going to have 400 new cards, 6 mats, 60 tokens. It sounds like it's going to add a whole bunch of new interesting mechanics to the game, like all the expansions do. So keep your eye out for that if you're a Dominion fan. Traders of Osaka is a re-implementation of a game from 2006 called Traders of Carthage. I have no idea what re-implementation means in the context of this, but hey, look at the really gorgeous cover art. You gotta be excited about that. It is a hand management game where you're trying to collect sets of goods by trading cards to a common pile and then shipping them, but the different ships can actually fit multiple people's goods. You might be shipping other people's goods, and there's pirates, and there's all that kind of stuff. So it seems pretty interesting. It seems really pretty. I really like the design. So keep your eye out for that one. Board Game Geek has named their 2014 iOS Tabletop Game of the Year. These are games for iPhones and tablets and Androids and that kind of stuff. And the game is Hearthstone, which I am a gigantic Hearthstone fan. I play it far too often. I'm very addicted to it. But I don't know if it's a tabletop game. I mean, it only exists in a digital format. There's actually been a bootleg that people made in China that's actually really cool, the physical cards. But for all intents and purposes, it is entirely a digital game. There's a lot of mechanics in the game that you wouldn't put in a card game. Not that they wouldn't be possible. It would just be so fiddly that it wouldn't be fun. And a lot of cards do things that just you'd never put in a tabletop game. So I don't know if that's an unfair advantage. I love it for what it is. I think you can certainly make the argument that it's a tabletop game because it's based off of tabletop games, but since it isn't actually a tabletop game, it is only a digital game. I don't know if it is. I don't know if I have a problem with them naming it that because honestly, it's free and it's unbelievably good, and it certainly scratches that itch of collectible card game, which that is a very expensive itch to have. So I definitely think it's great. Might be a technicality, but whatever. Hearthstone was their game of the year. Galaxy Checker was their runner-up. That's another great one. Wizards of the Coast has made a multi-part announcement about Elemental Evil. This is going to be their new storyline coming up in March. It's going to include Princess of the Apocalypse, which is going to be a campaign book for D&D 5th edition. It's going to have new spells. It's going to have a new character race, the Genasi. I'm not even sure how to spell that, but that's the elemental touched race. We also got word of Temple of the Elemental Evil, which is actually surprising. I had no idea this was coming out, and it's going to be one of their adventure system board games like Castle Ravenloft or Legend of Drizzt. It is going to be compatible with those games, so it's going to come with a bunch of miniatures and all that kind of stuff, and it's a little dungeon crawling game. All of this is set in their Forgotten Realms setting. They're still hitting hard on that one. So lots and lots of stuff coming up for Dungeons & Dragons. The Kickstarter this week is Spirits of the Rice Paddy. This game has absolutely gorgeous art. I absolutely love it. In this game, you play rice farmers competing to construct and tend rice paddies. It's a worker placement game. I really love this theme. It took, worker placement games are very, very commonly about farming, and that kind of gets old. It doesn't add a lot to a new experience of the game, but just by changing it a little bit, where now this is farming a rice paddy, They added some interesting new stuff. There's a lot of like management of water. They gotta have like ducks and oxen in the game, which is just a little bit more flavorful for me than sheep and cattle these days. Wonderful colors used here. I really like the look of this game. It should be a good one. So if you're interested, you can back it right now for $40 on Kickstarter. All right, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. We are close to 10,000 followers, and it is going to legitimize everything I've ever done in my life if we get to 10,000 followers. So I would really appreciate if you would subscribe, because it will make me feel good. And that's what everything's about anyways, right? Today's question comes from @DJ via Twitter, and he says, RPG question in honor of the podcast. We do an RPG podcast. You should listen to it. What's your ideal campaign length? 1 night, a month, a decade? And this is a tough one. I think I really like the idea of playing a game for a decade. I think Dungeons and Dragons could do that for me. I'm actually relatively new to role-playing games, so I haven't, had a decade worth of play. But I love the ongoing campaigns, the stories, the characters, all that stuff. So I definitely would love to play in a game for a decade. That's very difficult to keep people together that long, to keep things interesting. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of work. Now with the internet where we have, Google Hangouts where you can play it, or Roll20 or whatever, where you can digitally play games, that gets a little bit easier because people's, lives, they move away and stuff to keep it going. But I think, honestly, about a year you can tell a really incredible story. I also like one-shots, like Fiasco, I think is an absolute blast to play in a night. I just tried out the new Fantasy Flight game, End of the World, the Zombie Apocalypse, this week, and I really dug that one. And that one, a campaign should last probably about a month. Like, you kind of want your characters to die. It's not about, leveling up and learning new skills and stuff. It's just kind of about not dying. So I think, 3 or 4 sessions would be a great length for that game. So it does kind of depend on the game. But yeah, so all of them in different ways for different games, I guess, is my answer to that question. Thanks so much for tuning in this week, and I will see you next week.